Chapter 14, A Kiss from a Princess. Later, at a much smaller table, Despereaux's family gathered for dinner. Theirs was nothing like the knight's great hall. The Tillings' dining room did not know such laughter and warmth. This was a proper family dinner. "How is the library?" Lester asked his son, passing him a plate of cheese. "Fine," said Despereaux. Spoil your appetite?" Lester asked. "No," Despereaux said, thinking about the knight and the princess, courage and decency. "Helped it, actually," he said. "Made me hungrier." "Did you get started on a book?" asked Lester. Despereaux nodded. "Devoured it," he said. Lester looked over to Antoinette. This just might be progress, they thought. "Good lad," Lester said. Despereaux didn't respond. He was too busy waving his fork like a sword. "Ha ha!" he cried. "Did a book ever speak to you, almost as if it were written for you?" Despereaux couldn't wait to get back to the library. All that week he returned to read more and more of the story. Despereaux jumped back and forth across the pages. He had brought his fork with him, and he jabbed it into the air like a sword as he read. The knight rode into a battle. "Ha ha!" Despereaux yelled, slaying an imaginary dragon. He loved all of it, every bit of truth. The justice, the bravery, the sword fighting. He laid on the page, then rolled over onto his back and stared up at the library's elaborate vaulted ceiling. He tried to picture what he had just read. The story said that the princess was a prisoner, but that wasn't totally true, because she had hope. And whenever you have hope, you're never really anybody's prisoner. Despereaux turned back to the page and studied an illustration of the golden-haired princess. She stood at the window of a tower, gazing out at her kingdom. The castle was huge, the sky was clear, and the princess was fair. Illustrated in lavish detail, she seemed to radiate light. Despereaux read on. "Someday my prince will come," said the princess. "But how does she know that?" Despereaux wondered aloud. A soft sound interrupted his thoughts. A sad, sweet melody was drifting in from outside the library's door. Despereaux hopped off the book and ventured into the corridor of the castle. There, the music grew louder. Someone was playing guitar, the same mournful refrain over and over. Despereaux wandered down the large stone hallway towards the sound. He followed the song to an enormous room. The room was spacious, even to humans, but it was especially cavernous and grand to a mouse. Tucked in a corner, a man sat, lost in a huge chair. It was the king, playing his guitar. He finished playing, sighed, and gazed up at a portrait of his dead queen. That's when Despereaux noticed someone else in the room. P, too, was watching her father. But the king didn't seem to know she was there. It might be said that in his grief, the king had forgotten he had a daughter at all. Princess P could no longer stand it. As the king began playing his sad and beautiful song all over again, she turned away from him and left the room. In her chamber, Princess P stood at her window alone and stared out across the bleak countryside. A warm amber glow surrounded her. She was lovely. She looked almost like the princess from the storybook. Tears filled her eyes. She sniffed. "Why are you crying?" asked Despereaux. P turned around, but she did not see anyone. "Why are you crying?" Despereaux said, a bit louder. P looked left, then right. Down here," he called. She looked down, and then she saw him. A small mouse with exceptionally large ears was standing on the arm of her chair. "Ah!" cried P. "Are you a rat?" "No," Despereaux answered. "What are you?" P asked. "A mouse?" "I," Despereaux said, doffing his hat, "am a gentleman." P smiled. She leaned in a little closer. "How do you do?" she asked. "You're sad," said Despereaux. "Yes," she said, "because you have longing." P's eyes widened. "Yes, but longing is just love waiting to be born," the little mouse explained. "You're a strange little mouse," P said. "Thank you," Despereaux said, smiling. Do you want want some cheese?" "No, thank you," Despereaux replied. "I have already eaten." P smiled again and reached down to offer her hand. "Come on," she said. Despereaux hesitated. Then he walked on to her outstretched palm. The princess lifted him up till he was right in front of her eyes, where she could get a closer look at him. "Where did you hear about that, about longing?" she asked. "In a story." "A story? About what?" "About a princess like you, trapped in a castle like this," Despereaux said. "Oh, you're a smooth little mouse, aren't you?" P asked, raising an eyebrow. "I'll bet you tell that to all the princesses." "I am sworn to tell the truth," Despereaux said. "It's a code of honor." "Ah," said the princess, "not just a gentleman, an honorable gentleman." Despereaux bowed slightly. "Well then, how does this story end? With the princess who is locked in a castle?" "I don't know," said Despereaux, slightly embarrassed. "I haven't finished it yet." "I'd love to know," P said. She set Despereaux down and looked out the window. "Oh, I wish it would rain. I wish there were soup again. I even wish there were rats." P looked at Despereaux. "Will you promise me something? Will you promise to finish your story and tell me how it ends?" "Yes," Despereaux promised. "It will be my quest." "Your quest?" P said. "You're a very brave mouse." And with that, the princess leaned forward and did something extraordinary. She kissed her finger and touched it to his nose, sweetly, softly. "Thank you, my good gentleman," she said. If a mouse could blush, Despereaux would have been scarlet. He slid down the tablecloth and gazed up at P's smiling face. A kiss! A kiss! A kiss from a princess! This was all Despereaux could think as he waved goodbye to P. Just the very thought of her kiss sent him floating out of her room and flying down the marble banister. "Ah!" Despereaux cried.